We're going to get started in 1 minute. Thank you. That's true. Welcome, everyone, to New Jersey Advanced Media's third annual State of the State Networking Reception. My name is Matt Craner. I'm the president of NJ Advanced Media, and we all appreciate everyone here taking time out of their busy schedule to join us here today for this event. We're very excited for it. There's a lot of activity we have planned, and we're glad you have joined us for really what is a new format for us in this event this year. Before I move forward with the program, I just want to recognize some of the folks in the room. We have Governor McGreevey, who has joined us today. Governor. I'd also like to introduce some of the key executives with NJ Advanced Media. I know I've seen, I think, most everyone in the room today. Kevin Whitmer, our VP of Content. Kevin. Steve Alessi, our Vice President of Advertising and Business Development. David Martell, who is, he and his staff are the key folks that put this event together, our VP of Marketing. David, where are you? Yeah. I don't know, is Lamar here today? I don't know if I saw Lamar. All right, well, I just want to introduce him then. Since we last gathered a year ago, there has been a lot that has happened, and we have a lot of exciting new initiatives and strategies that we've executed and rolled out into the marketplace at NJ Advanced Media. I think one of the most exciting things that you've probably heard consistently from me the last few years is that we are a growth company, and we've re-engineered ourselves to be in the growth business, and digital is a big part of that. And so I'm very excited today to share with you just a few quick statistics on how we've continued to evolve and grow just since the last time we were together a year ago. Today, all of our affiliated media in New Jersey, led by NJ.com, as well as all of our newspapers, reaches about 6.6 million people on a monthly basis in the state of New Jersey. That is a powerful platform when you think about the total population of the state being a little less than 9 million. That is without a doubt the largest single, most dominant media platform in the state of New Jersey. NJ.com alone reaches about 5.5 million people on a monthly basis, and our newspapers still, to this day, reach over 2 million people, about 2.2 million people on a monthly basis. So, and that's what's tied to our 12 affiliated publications led by the Star Ledger. NJ Advanced Media is truly a statewide New Jersey platform. And it would be remiss for me not to also recognize Tom Martello. I know I saw Tom in here earlier today. There he is. You know, there's been a lot of discussion about how media companies are addressing the challenges they have. And there's been a lot of discussion about how to do that in the appropriate way to still create the quality journalism that is required of us as really as part of our task as we go forward and really at the very fiber of what we're about. We have, NJ Advanced Media, one of, if not the largest Statehouse bureaus in the country. Led by Tom, we have 7 reporters full-time in here in the city of Trenton here at the state capitol. And that is a commitment that we've had since the day we've launched. It has not changed. There's not one less reporter, and that will be a commitment that we'll hold to as we go forward, because we think the coverage that we provide for the state of New Jersey with regard to what goes on in state politics is absolutely essential to what we do on a day-to-day basis. In addition to that, the digital consumption of our news content gives us, from a marketing and advertising perspective, of our digital news, the consumption of our news content gives us unique and highly actionable insights into the economic and social issues that New Jerseyans care about. We integrate powerful data into cross-platform marketing solutions to accurately pinpoint your most important audiences for business, campaigns, and advocacy groups looking to market to New Jerseyans. Our marketing division, Advanced Marketing Solution, is one of the best in class. This year, we have a unique program for you, as I mentioned a moment ago. As you all know, in November, New Jersey will be electing a new governor. With us today are 4 men who each hope to be that next governor. We have asked them to join us to share their perspectives on the current state of the state here in New Jersey. And I believe this is the first time that they will all collectively be together on the stage at a single event. Probably not the last time, but the first time. So I thank, first and foremost, I thank each of them for taking time out of all of their busy schedules to join us today. Our first speaker is Ambassador Phil Murphy. Ambassador Murphy, a Harvard grad, had a 23-year career at Goldman Sachs, including several high-level positions before retiring from there in 2006. He then served as the finance chair for the National Democratic Committee in 2009. And in 2009, President Obama appointed him U.S. Ambassador to Germany, a position he held until 2013. He has announced his candidacy for governor in May of 2016. So please welcome me in welcoming Ambassador Murphy.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to thank you, Matt, for your introduction. I want to also thank Advanced Media for hosting this reception. Before I begin my remarks, I want to acknowledge the reports that the governor today will dedicate a significant portion of his speech to our state's addiction crisis. This is a needed statewide conversation, and I commend the governor for focusing on it. We too often look the other way instead of taking this crisis head on. New Jersey must take ownership of the fight against opioid abuse and addiction and provide the help our communities and our families need. We must remove the stigma of addiction and create an atmosphere where entire communities can work together, expanding access to drug treatment facilities, establishing a 7-day limit on initial opioid prescriptions, and lowering the cost of Narcan, among other actions. We will not end opioid addiction overnight, but we can make sure that the tools are there for individuals gripped by addiction to be treated with the dignity they deserve and with the help they and their loved ones need. I want to thank all of you here and those watching, I'm told, on live stream for your interest in and commitment to the future of our great state. I also want to thank my fellow colleagues here and apologize in advance that I have to speak and run, so please forgive me. It is a future in which we all will play an important part. Soon, Governor Christie will be delivering his 7th State of the State address. And if you've been following the governor lately, you would expect to hear that the biggest problems facing our state are his demand to cash in and write a book, or his constant need to punish anybody who dares disagree with him, like a press that is doing its job without fear or favor. If you notice a theme there, it's this, and it's all too typical Trenton. It's about the powerful using public service for personal gain. It is time to change that culture. It's time to put the people of New Jersey ahead of the special interests and insider deals. That is the only way we can move forward and be the state that we know we can be. After 7 years of the governor's office being used for little more than a means to fulfill the ambition of its occupant, our politics in our state are stifled under the governor's swift and self-inflicted dissent. Our problems continue to mount. Our state still lags where it should lead. Our economy is broken, and our people are frustrated. So as we will not hear the true state of our state after nearly 2 terms of Governor Christie, here is a more honest report on the actual state of the state. An economy stagnating while income equality increases. Long-term unemployment that is far worse than the nation's. 10 credit downgrades that have decimated trust in our finances. More than $20 billion by which this governor has underfunded the pension system, even after promising that the state would no longer ignore its obligations. The billions more in fund diversions that have propped up his budgets at the expense of worthy programs, municipal aid, upgrading our 911 emergency systems, investment in clean energy projects, lead remediation, and so much more. Nearly $8 billion in the underfunding of our public schools, which has increased property taxes while diminishing opportunities because of an unwillingness to not only follow the only constitutional school funding formula in 40 years, but a misguided attempt to destroy one of the nation's finest public school systems. The governor's proposed fairness formula is neither fair nor a real formula. And if he attempts to push it through the budget process, we must oppose it vigorously. Hundreds of thousands of tax dollars spent on lawsuits to stifle transparency, and in the millions spent on lawyers to whitewash his administration's involvement in Bridgegate. Scapegoating of honorable people, educators, police and fire professionals, rank and file public employees who do honorable work day in and day out for our people and our state. $45 million vetoed for women's health care. A livable minimum wage vetoed. A failure to stand up to the gun lobby for common sense gun safety. A regressive tax system where the bottom 20% of working families pay a greater share of their income in taxes than those in the top 1%. I and we could go on. The state of our state after 7 years under Chris Christie is a New Jersey that is less fair, less just, has less opportunity, and has less of a middle class. We are so much better than that. It is time for a new vision and direction for our state, and for a governor whose sole focus is on tackling the long-standing challenges we face. It's time for a governor who doesn't tack to the political winds in pursuit of personal glory, but who is committed to correcting to a steady course for the future, even if that means the risk of depleting his own political capital. I stand here humbly seeking to be that governor who will put our state on that new track. So here's the honest assessment. Our greatest issue, the one thing from which so many of our problems stem, is an economy that is as flat as a pancake and at the same time profoundly unfair. The last 7 years show us if we are not moving forward, we are falling behind. Applying old answers to a new economy won't and doesn't work. Here's the path forward. We can't get New Jersey right unless we get our economy right. And without a strong middle class, there's no way that New Jersey can have a strong economy. I start with a vision for a dynamic, STEM-driven economy built on world-class universities and wholly modern infrastructure. A vision for a smarter 21st century government that puts resources to work more efficiently and more effectively. A vision for an exciting new public bank owned by the people to put New Jersey's tax dollars to work for Main Street rather than Wall Street. We must reject the myth that boosting our working class and giving them a pathway to the middle class through higher wages and stronger workplace protection kills jobs. It's simply not true. It's a false choice perpetrated by the very same special interests that ruined our state's economy. We must raise the minimum wage, expand the earned income tax credit even further, create a child and caregiver tax credit, provide earned sick leave, and ensure equal pay for equal work. Not only because it's the right thing to do for our workers and their families, but because it is the smart thing to do, because it will stimulate our economy. We must build the economic ecosystem in which entrepreneurs across the nation have shown time and again they want to invest. Dense, walkable communities supported by a vast network of public infrastructure, connecting them to the most dynamic markets in the world. For the first time in the post-World War II era, New Jersey is re-urbanizing. We need first-rate, world-class infrastructure to maximize our natural geographic advantages. Newark is 15 minutes from the largest market in the world. Paterson is less than an hour. Camden is across the river from Philadelphia, and Trenton is connected to both markets. Redeveloping our cities in a smart and coordinated way is essential to growing our economy. A state-of-the-art road and rail infrastructure will open up opportunities, creating thousands of good-paying jobs, putting people to work, and giving them a paycheck so they can participate fully, not just partially, in the new economy. It will directly create a broader and more diverse middle class. It will also protect and underpin our infrastructure economy, the warehouses and the affiliated businesses that make New Jersey a global transportation hub for hundreds of billions of dollars in goods. If we get it right in an increasingly e-commerce dominated economy, New Jersey will be a big winner. All of the ingredients for a resurgence of high-paying, advanced industry careers exists right here. We need only vision and leadership to put them all to work. And there's simply nothing inconsistent in an economy that is both fair and competitive. They go hand in hand. It is our economic DNA. After 7 long years, it's time we return to our roots as a place of innovation and of fairness and justice. I come at this challenge not as someone who has spent a lifetime in politics, but as someone who understands how economies grow and create good jobs. I have seen what works and what doesn't work. Governor Christie and his fellow insiders will not acknowledge the core challenge facing our state simply because they are a large part of that failure. The real problem facing New Jersey is the broken political culture that uses taxpayer dollars to reward the insiders and special interests instead of solving our real economic problems. One of whom just shut the microphone off. I am running for governor to fix that. I am an optimist. I refuse to be a spectator to New Jersey's stagnation, not when our potential is so great. I say emphatically that New Jersey has what it takes to build its own best future. Nothing is beyond our reach. It is time for that bright morning again in New Jersey. I thank you for hearing me out and for your commitment to turning our state around. There is so much we can accomplish, not just for the next election or not just for the next political opportunity, and certainly not in the back rooms or in the corridors of power, but in the streets, in the communities, and not just for some of us, but for all 9 million of us, for right here, right now, but far more importantly, for tomorrow, for the many proud New Jersey generations to come. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador Murphy, for your remarks and for joining us today. Our next speaker is Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli. Assemblyman Ciattarelli, a Seton Hall University grad, is co-founder of the American Medical Publishing and founder and CEO of Galen Publishing. He served on the Raritan Borough Council from 1989 to 1985, was elected to the Somerset County Freeholder as a Somerset County Freeholder in 2007, and served until being elected to his current assembly seat in 2011. He announced his candidacy for governor in October of 2016. Welcome.
Thank you, Matt. I don't know if you noticed, he got 2 ahs in there before he said Ciattarelli, but he did say Ciattarelli perfectly. And I think it was very kind of Raymond Lesniak to give 5 of his 10 minutes to Phil Murphy so Phil Murphy could run over. I listened to Phil Murphy, and there were 3 words very specifically I heard. Did you hear him say a new direction? That's my tagline. Jack Ciattarelli, a new direction. So I'm going to have to remind him of that. I was recently at an event as an assembly person, and the pastor got up and did the invocation and referred to New Jersey as that humble valley between the 2 great mountains of Philadelphia and New York. Now, I'm all for humility, and I like valleys as much as the next guy, but we are an intellectual, cultural, and economic powerhouse, a mountain unto ourselves. And I wasn't about to pick a fight with that clergy, Governor McGreevey, but I will tell you, next time I see him, I'm going to kick him right in the shins. We are not, at this point in time, going to settle for the junior varsity, 2nd place, or being thought of as a humble valley between the great mountains of New York and Philadelphia. We will become a mountain unto ourselves. I declared my candidacy for governor on October 4th, and when I did so, and soon we'll release a list with a number of endorsements, which I greatly appreciate. But on October 4th, I announced with 1 endorsement, purposely, my wife. And she's here today, and I thank you and love you for all your support. This is not the time. There's a time and a place, but this isn't it. This is not the time for a progressive, and I don't mean it in a mean-spirited way, or a liberal agenda. We have more problems than we have resources. It is a time for innovation. It is a time for resourcefulness. It is not a time for a Christie 3rd term. It is not a time to be taking credit for an economy that continues to punish New Jersey in particular. Maybe it's a time, just maybe it's a time, for an MBA CPA, a Main Street business owner who's been on Main Street for more than 20 years with 2 very successful businesses, a person who's actually created jobs with good paying benefits. I know a person like that. And over the next few months, I want you to get to know him much better too, and what his candidacy is all about. We are on the brink, and you all know the crises. They affect every New Jerseyan every single day. Ever-escalating property taxes, an unfair school funding formula, crippling debt, credit downgrade after credit downgrade after credit downgrade, #1 out-migration, last in economic growth, and the crisis has a whole other dimension. There are a couple of party bosses that wield way too much power in Trenton, and there's a couple of special interests that think they can buy, own, and operate our state government. I am giving up my assembly seat because I'm not going down that way. If you love this state, and I do, and you care as I do, we need to go in an entirely different direction, a new direction, in every single way, not just our policies, but our politics as well. And so I look forward to the remaining months in this gubernatorial campaign. I congratulate the other candidates, but I wouldn't be standing here before you, wouldn't be asking my family to make these sacrifices, wouldn't be asking people to invest in my campaign unless I thought I was in the best interest of New Jersey. It all has to do with leadership. It has to do with style. It has to do with something else. Like many of you, like most of New Jerseyans, and I've gone up and down this state since October 4th, 8 days a week. The people of this state are as decent and hardworking as any around the country, and quite frankly, they've had it. They're fed up. They don't want generalities. They do not want platitudes. And I'm going to give them what an MBA CPA business owner gives to his employees and investors: a plan, a detailed plan, a plan that takes us in an entirely new direction, a plan that will spark our economy in a very, very responsible way. And it really comes down to 5 things only that we need to address. And I say this to you, and I mean it not as a criticism that anybody stands behind this podium today or campaigns for this position, but anybody who's running for governor that doesn't speak to the school funding formula is being dishonest with you. The school funding formula is the #1 issue in this state. It drives the property tax crisis. When an $800,000 house in Jersey City pays less in property taxes than a great many middle-class towns in which people own a $300,000 home, we have a crisis in this state. And that's what's happening because of our school funding formula. We need to change the school funding formula, and we need to do it as soon as possible. It is unfair. The school funding formula violates the Equal Benefit Clause of our state constitution, which says no community is supposed to benefit at the expense of another. But that's what's happening today. One other dirty little secret about the school funding formula: of the nearly 600 school districts in this state, 26 get state-funded pre-K for 3- and 4-year-olds with no means testing. So we have millionaires living in million-dollar townhomes in Hoboken, sending their children, their 3- and 4-year-olds, to pre-K at no cost, paid for by the state of New Jersey. Do you know how many middle-class, blue-collar towns in this state where one of the 2 parents is working just to pay for daycare at $8,000, $10,000, $12,000 a year because there is no pre-K in their town? It is unfair. It's blatantly unfair. It's terribly flawed, and it needs to be corrected. The other thing we need to address are public workers' benefits. We've done a pretty good job in 2011 with pensions and with health care. What we have not addressed is the post-retirement health care benefit. My mom on Sunday will be 85 years old. My dad worked on the line for public service for 38 years. She collects his pension. She worked on the line for J&J for 33 years. She collects her pension. And she collects her Social Security. And those 3 checks add up to, she doesn't like when I disclose this, $26,000. Because my mom is medically intensive, because she's a stroke victim of 20 years, she needs extra coverage. So she opted into Medicare Part B. So $109 a month is deducted from my mother's Social Security check. We have people retiring from our state and from our school districts whose pension plus Social Security, a retiree today, will be in the range of $70,000, $80,000, $90,000. And they're not contributing to the post-retirement health care benefit. It's unfair, it needs to be changed, and it's the key to solving our pension crisis. We need people to contribute. We need people to contribute. The other thing that we need to do desperately in our state is reform our tax code. This is something that's near and dear to me as a CPA. It's punishing. Page after page after page is a disincentive. Yes, we need to make sure the estate tax stays abolished. We need to get rid of the transfer inheritance tax. We need to allow for the carry forward of losses. But let's see entrepreneurism take off in this state by making the gain on the sale of a family-owned business tax-free. You go to Main Street, that pizzeria, that laundromat, that small architectural firm, that's their 401k. Small business is the engine of New Jersey's economy. Small business is the engine of our labor markets. Let's do something. After all the corporate welfare over the past 7 years, let's do something for small business. Let's modernize our state government. We have software and technology systems that are more than 20 years old, and we have desktops operating on DOS. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment. And last, The executive branch with the leadership in both houses, on a semi-annual basis, needs to be sitting down with our entire New Jersey congressional delegation. Nothing happens when there is no communication. New Jersey is dead last in the amount of federal income taxes we send to Washington, D.C. compared to what we get back. Maybe, just maybe, that has something to do with the fact that our governor doesn't sit down and include the leadership from both houses with our 2 U.S. senators and 12 Congress people. Great things happen when you sit down and strategize. That's what we do in business. That's what MBA CPAs do. That's what I want to do for the state of New Jersey. I am determined to make this state a better place to live, work, and retire. I am determined to make this state a better place to do business. And I am determined to get more people that want to feel good about this state. 6 out of 10 think we're heading in the wrong direction, and 6 out of 10 are looking to get out. We can change that. My candidacy offers that opportunity, and I thank you for your attention today.
Thank you, Assemblyman Ciattarelli, and for your remarks and for joining us today. Our next speaker is Assemblyman John Wisniewski. Assemblyman Wisniewski, a Rutgers grad, owns and runs Wisniewski & Associates, a private general practice law firm. He was first elected to the Assembly in 1995 and serves as chair of the Assembly Transportation and Independent Authorities Committee and co-chair of the New Jersey Legislative Select Committee on Investigation. He also served as chairman of the New Jersey Democratic State Committee from 2010 to 2013. He announced his candidacy for governor in November. Please join me in welcoming Assemblyman Wisniewski.
John, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone, and good morning. What could be better in a morning where you get Ciattarelli and Wisniewski pronounced correctly? So, and Jack, you said you want to have everybody meet a Main Street businessman? Well, here I am. Thank you, Jack. Earlier, it was said that this was the first appearance of all of the gubernatorial candidates together on one stage, but those who sang and danced for us at the Correspondents Club dinner will remember that a group of us were actually on the stage there doing a version of the dating game with Senator Lesniak and Assemblyman Ciattarelli and Ambassador Murphy and myself. And so this is the second appearance for all of us. But good morning. I wanted to start by thanking New Jersey Advanced Media for the opportunity to be here with all of the candidates who are running for governor. I think it's an important opportunity for everyone to hear what we have to say, to understand the choices that are in front of the state. Although I would argue that this event this morning is perhaps an argument against self-interest, because the other week we were on the floor of the Assembly and we were talking about the governor's revenge bill and how it would impact the finances of the press in New Jersey. But when we see a ballroom this big, I'm sure some people will raise this as an argument against everything I said the other day on the floor. It was said earlier on that the governor is going to devote a large portion of his speech to talk about the opioid crisis in New Jersey. And it's certainly a topic that's worthy of discussion. But we have to recognize that it's not just about the stigma that the crisis presents. There are so many other issues that are part of that. It's about health care. It's about mental health. It's about breaking the cycle of prescription medicine that starts people on that downward spiral. And those are important issues that need to be addressed by this state. By no means, though, are they the only issue that needs to be addressed by this state. Because in a few hours, when the governor talks to all of us at the State of the State, we will have to face the fact that the state of the state is not strong, and that is because of the failed leadership of Christie. Why do I say that? Well, in New Jersey, we have a middle class that is under siege and leadership at all levels that doesn't seem to care. We've had legislation to raise the minimum wage to a livable $15 an hour, and that was dismissed. We had legislation to create equal pay for women, and that was vetoed. We've seen time and time again policies pursued by this governor that only benefit the top 0.1% at the expense of the hardworking men and women of this state. We finally passed a gas tax to fund critical infrastructure projects. But in doing it, in the typical Trenton fashion, we blew a $1.2 billion annual hole in our state budget because of the transactional politics that favors the wealthy elite by repealing the estate tax. And because of it, our state's credit rating took a further downgrade for a remarkable 10th time under the current administration. Year after year, we have a vastly unfunded public education as well as underfunded public universities. But our governor has enthusiastically supported more charter schools, which increasingly just look like a path to the privatization of public education. That's not so good for Main Street, but potentially a windfall for Wall Street. Simply put, Governor Christie only cares about himself and taking care of his wealthy friends. But remarkably, with all of the problems that we are facing, the governor continued to say that one of his top priorities is still in 2017 to pursue his newspaper revenge bill that he tried to push through the legislature in the closing days of December. The actual state of our state, where working families continue to struggle and scrape by in the hopes that somebody, somewhere, is going to care about them. I believe that it is time we change that. It is time that we have policies that work for everybody and not just the wealthy and the connected. I believe that men and women have a right to go to work every day and with dignity earn a minimum wage of not less than $15. That's why I'm running for governor of New Jersey, because after 21 years in the Assembly, I've had a back row seat to the transactional politics that continue to plague our state. Just today, in another media outlet that I won't mention out of respect to our hosts, the New Jersey Advanced Media, there was a story about how our pension bond deal of 20 years ago is coming back to haunt us with debt service payments that will start to increase even more significantly in this year and in succeeding years. That is exactly the kind of deal-making that we've had to deal with over the last generation, and it is time it stopped. I have the experience to transform our politics and break that stranglehold of special interest and backroom deal-making. As I've proven countless times in my tenure, I have had the courage to stand up when party bosses have told me to sit down. When our former Goldman Sachs Governor John Corzine tried to privatize and sell off the New Jersey Turnpike, we stood up to him and defeated him, saving hundreds of union jobs and preventing over 800% in toll hikes for ordinary working men and women in this state. When we uncovered evidence of Governor Christie's office deciding that it was time for traffic problems in Fort Lee, I was unafraid to stand up and lead the Bridgegate investigation, even when some leaders, Democratic leaders, told me that it would be an embarrassment and a mistake. I've seen, and you've seen, 12 years of government in New Jersey by so-called outsider governors, wreaking havoc with our state, thinking that they could sell off assets or bully their way to success. Well, we saw that the Wall Street way didn't work, and we know that Chris Christie's bullying has been a disaster. So I want the next 4 years to be transformative. When I'm governor, climate change will be taken seriously. On day one, New Jersey will rejoin the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, and we will revolutionize our energy sector and make that a priority. We will create a 21st century workforce by making New Jersey's colleges and universities tuition-free for students coming from households earning an annual income of less than $125,000. Transportation, which is our central nervous system of our state, will once again be a priority, with a heavy focus on not only upgrading our infrastructure, but modernizing our mass transit. And we must, it is our obligation, to ensure a dignified retirement by keeping our promise as a state and fully funding our pension obligations. To do this, the fiscal games of this and past administrations must end. That means we have to end the billions of dollars in corporate welfare that we give away every year and the tax breaks to the well-connected, because we have to stop that to get our fiscal house in order. As governor, I want my first State of the State address to be about a transformative vision for how New Jersey can succeed, and not talking about the failures of the past. But we have to break with that past. When we have leadership that puts Wall Street profits ahead of the middle class, we get a state government that no longer works for the people. Look, I'm not a Wall Street executive. I've not made hundreds of millions by outsourcing jobs. I'm just a Main Street lawyer. But I've learned the value of public service. I've spent 21 years fighting the entrenched special interests that want to run New Jersey for themselves. New Jersey deserves the kind of leadership that is transformative, not transactional. Some say that that's impossible. I disagree, because nothing is impossible with the right kind of leadership. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Assemblyman Ray Lesniak. Whoa. Yay. Whoa. Oh, excuse me, who wrote this speech anyway? No, I was kidding. No. Sorry about that. Our final speaker today is Senator Ray Lesniak. Sorry about that. Also a Rutgers grad last week. Also a Rutgers grad. Last week, he announced his retirement from Werner and Lesniak after more than 30 years and having served as the co-founder. He served in the Assembly from 1978 to 1983, and when he was elected to the Senate. He serves as chair of the Senate Economic Growth Committee, also served as chairman of the New Jersey Democratic State Committee from 1992 to 1994. He announced his candidacy for governor this past week. So please join me in welcoming Senator Lesniak.
That wasn't easy. I have titanium knees. So I did announce my retirement from the practice of law on Monday. My partner said I retired 5 years ago. Applause, laugh, please, laugh. I want to join with Assemblyman Wisniewski and not only thank New Jersey Advanced Media for having this forum, but ask the entire New Jersey media, 101.5, New Jersey TV, NJ TV, and all outlets, to have a series of debates where we can all express our views, our record, and what we intend to achieve for the state of New Jersey. Those of us who don't have tens of millions of dollars to spend need to get our message out so that this will be a fair race, so that the public will know where we stand and what we have stood for. Now, there's only one candidate in this race that has received state, national, and international awards for environmental protection, for criminal justice reform, for LGBT rights, and yes, to protect animals from extinction and from cruelty. That required a fighter, someone who can get things done, who has gotten things done against all odds. But transforming all of those very, very important issues is someone who is going to restructure and reform government to make New Jersey affordable for our residents, because it is not for many of our residents. And also someone who will give the public a voice and a vote in government, because they've been shut out. I have tried to restructure and reform government as a senator. It's gone nowhere. Gone nowhere because Democrats and Republicans, governors of both parties, have an institutional investment in keeping the public out of government and in the political patronage system that has driven up the cost of government so high. So let's start with my fight on the environment. I was a second-term assemblyman and a first-term senator when I sponsored the most progressive environmental protection laws in the country. I sponsored the surcharge on the petrochemical industry to clean up abandoned toxic waste sites. Not only did I defeat the opposition in the legislature, but Exxon and the other chemical companies took it to court and said the subsequent enactment of the Superfund precluded and preempted my surcharge. And what did I do? No, they didn't go to court, I'm sorry. They refused to pay. I took them to court, just like Bill Brennan's taken Governor Christie to court. I took him to court, look it up, Lesniak versus the United States, and I made Exxon pay. Just like I'm going to make Exxon pay and reverse that crazy and insane giveaway to Exxon that Governor Christie has enacted. Come on, we got $9 billion we gave away. All right, we're going to get that back for natural resource restoration for this state, for my environmental friends. And then the big daddy of them all, ECRA. ECRA required that every single company clean up any contamination before they either sold their business or closed their business. And if they didn't clean it up, they had to post a bond for it. That was opposed by the real estate industry, by the bankers, by the petrochemical industry, by the New Jersey Business Association, by developers. But ECRA and my surcharge has been responsible for cleaning up tens of thousands of contaminated sites in the state of New Jersey. Now, all those industries, except the petrochemical industry, because I'm still fighting them in court, but now they are thankful because New Jersey was drowning in a sea of toxic waste. We wouldn't have had any economy were it not for ECRA and that surcharge. That's the battle that I won as a second-term assemblyman and freshman senator. I also drove organized crime out of the garbage and hazardous waste disposal industry. You think fighting those other guys were tough? Try fighting the mob. But that didn't deter me either. Look at criminal justice reform. My legislation has reduced the prison population by 50% for drug offenses. 50%. And I have new legislation pending that will reduce it another 20% by presumptive parole, and by earn your way out, it's been passed by the Senate, will ensure that reentry doesn't start, Governor McGreevey, when an inmate leaves prison. It starts on the first day of prison. Our correction system has to be reformed so that a prisoner comes out of prison as a better person than when they went in. And LGBT rights, when Senator Weinberg and I first sponsored marriage equality, same-sex marriage, we got 13 out of 24 Democratic votes. Democratic votes. And now marriage equality is the law of the land. And yes, I am proud of my legislation to protect elephants and lions and tigers and rhinos from extinction, and also to end the cruel practice of puppy mills, making New Jersey, in addition to being the guardian state, the humane state. But all of those have to be subsumed into making New Jersey affordable. Making New Jersey affordable in ways that the political establishment of both parties won't do. I had a website up. I had to take it down because I'm running for governor now. We know those rules, John. But it'll be up soon. Again, rayforgov.com/waste, okay, to save over $1 billion in wasted spending on education that never gets into the classroom, on prison reform that is wasted warehousing prisoners instead of getting them out of prison as better people, and as giving the public a voice in these agencies like the Port Authority, which wastes billions of dollars. New Jersey Transit, give the public a voice, and they will oversee, give them 2 appointments on all these boards so they can make a motion, and second, so that they can oversee the politicians and the political process. Look at the parole board. We're spending tens of millions of dollars for political patronage, many of them not qualified at all, making $120,000 a year, health benefits and pension benefits, when retired judges can do it for $300 a day, and they already have their pension and health. But what does that take? It takes upsetting the political establishment that is all supporting Phil Murphy. But we're going to make a race out of it, John. Jack, we'll get to you later. But we need a governor who has taken on these battles and won, and is not afraid to upset the apple carts, so that New Jersey becomes an affordable state to live, and so that the public has a voice and a vote in government. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator. We have one last addition to the agenda today, a retired firefighter, an announced candidate for governor, Bill Brennan. Bill?
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, folks, for having me here today to speak. And I made a deal with Matt. I said I'd keep it under 3 minutes, and I'd make a very important policy announcement. And every single candidate for governor has come up here and talked in one way or another about our pension crisis. And not a single one has discussed what they're going to do to solve it. So if anybody here is interested in policy that's actually going to work to resolve the biggest problem facing the state of New Jersey right now, pay close attention, take a pen and paper out. This is the solution to the problem. This is the third rail of politics that nobody else wanted to touch, that I'm telling you we can get through. What a lot of people don't understand about public employees is that they're not necessarily entitled to participate in the Social Security Trust Fund. In order for a public employee who has a public pension, a state or local pension, to participate in Social Security, the state or local government must enter into what's called a Section 218 agreement with the Internal Revenue Service. And once they enter the Section 218 agreement, the employees will pay 6.2% of their salary into the Social Security Trust Fund, and the employer will pay 6.2% into the Social Security Trust Fund. Now, under my proposal, we are going to eliminate the Section 218 provision. 6.2% of the salary that is currently going into the Social Security Trust Fund will be diverted to the state pension system. The other 6.2% will be put into a 457 program plan, which is a public employee's version of a 401k. It's a deferred compensation program. The employee will have control over how that money is invested, and when they retire, they will be able to access that money at any age as long as they start drawing a pension and they leave the public service. Now you might say, well, what happens to the people that have been paying all these years? If they have 40 quarters of service, those people will receive the benefit that they've accrued based upon that salary. New employees, like every police officer and firefighter in New Jersey, will not participate in Social Security. I don't know if you're aware of this, but in my career as a firefighter, not one penny was taken out of my check towards Social Security, and my employer paid not one penny into the program. I paid 8.5% of my salary religiously the entire time I was there without missing a payment. For some reason, in the infinite wisdom of this state, it was determined that the pension fund was going to earn 20% a year, and that would compensate the pension system for the state's portion of their contributions. It didn't work out that way, and now the employees have been asked to increase their payments. Firefighters and police officers are paying 10% of their salary into the pension fund, and nothing is being paid into Social Security for them, and nothing is being taken out of their salary for Social Security. Well, under my proposal, if you're a state employee and there's a $34 billion unfunded liability in your pension system, that is impossible to make up. You'll notice that not a single candidate discussed what they're going to do about it. We're talking about half of the discretionary income of the state of New Jersey is going to have to go into this pension system. It's unmanageable. What I'm saying is we have the resources. We need to put them in the appropriate place. Social Security is not necessarily something that a public employee is entitled to. Those that have paid in all along will get at least what they've earned. Those who are coming into the system now will rely on their pensions, and at least they'll have their pensions. So that was the deal that I made, and if I could have another minute, I'll take one more issue. One more issue, specifically on transportation. I don't have a lot of time, but there's something that's troubling me. Right now, Penn Station and the Port Authority bus terminal are structurally deficient and functionally obsolete. There are plans on the table to build these two facilities less than a half mile apart from each other at the same time. This is the mindset of somebody who rides in a limousine or a helicopter. This is not what somebody who commutes wants you to do. 6 blocks apart, 2 different facilities. If you come in on the Long Island Railroad and you want to travel on a New Jersey Transit bus, you have to go to 8th Avenue and go up to 41st Street and get on a bus. You should get on an escalator from Penn Station and get on a bus at the Port Authority. If you put these 2 facilities on one footprint, you do a number of things. You control the cost of construction because you're building one facility instead of 2 separate facilities. You spread the cost of construction instead of having the Port Authority lay out all the money for the Port Authority bus terminal. You incorporate Amtrak, the Long Island Railroad, the New York City Subway, and New Jersey Transit as additional pockets from which you can fund a modern, streamlined, efficient transportation facility. I could come up here and promise you everything. I could say that they're going to come and mow your lawn on Sundays, but we don't tackle the serious issues that are facing this state, and we just talk about how we're going to make this country great again without saying what we're going to do, then we're lying to each other. If we don't solve the pension problem, we're going to go under. It is a millstone that will take us under into a financial debt spiral from which this state's economy will not recover. So I appreciate the fact that I wasn't on the agenda and I got a chance to speak. Those are but 2 of the issues. All of my issues, or many of my issues, are up at Brennan2017.com. I plan on having a full and thorough layout of the pension plan that I have, but I just want you to remember that here and now today, there's one candidate who came before you and tackled the most serious and pressing financial issue in our state's economy, and that is the unfunded liability of our pension system. And I can assure you as a public employee, this is something that will be palatable to both the employees and the municipalities that are paying their salaries and their benefits and their pensions. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Brennan. All right, that concludes our speaking program. As a reminder, we'll be broadcasting the speech live here, so feel free to stay. For those of you that haven't had a chance to enjoy it yet, we have refreshments, food in the back of the room, coffee.